Welcome to Wanderin, guys. This is my introduction podcast, my solo. I've done a couple of podcasts already with some friends, and there will be some where it's just me every now and then, but I prefer to talk to people because this is weird. I just got to get used to looking in the camera because it is a video podcast as well. If you guys are listening to this just in your ear, you can go to YouTube and you can watch the videos. It's just easier for me to do it that way. So yeah, I'm new to this. It's gonna take a lot of practice. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just doing it. And I hope you guys enjoy it. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. This is something that I've wanted to do for a really long time. I went back and looked at my messages. I was talking about it with my friends last September and October. And I'm currently in a situation right now where I have a lot of time, more time than usual, so it was a perfect time to just start. And I am just really wanting to do something that's fun and people will enjoy and make you smile and laugh, and I just really want to have a good time. This project is not going to be for everyone. I just want to do a disclaimer right now. Like, it's not going to be for one simple demographic. I am a Gemini. I got about 30 personalities. I hang out with all sorts of people through all different walks of life that have all different kind of beliefs and all different personalities. In high school, I ran with every single group. There wasn't no High School Musical stick to the status quo for me. I love to be immersed with people that are different than me. And of course, I am going to have people on here that are the same as me, but completely different. And that's what I love about people and connections is even though I might not think the way that someone else thinks, we do have some things that are similar, and they're still beautiful people and fun to talk to. And yeah, so this is just a disclaimer because every episode might not be for you, okay? And sometimes we'll get on here and it'll be a very PG rated episode. And then sometimes we're going to get on here and it's going to be R rated. And there's going to be some flavor, some cuss words in there. I grew up where I was out and about running around on Saturday nights, and then I was singing in church on Sunday mornings. I know how to turn it off. I don't even cuss in front of my mama. Never have, never will. But I want this to be a platform where I can completely be myself. And if you know me, you know. And I want the people that I'm talking to be comfortable as well. I'm not going to have them come on here and say, oh, you can't say this, that, and that. So we'll find out early on if this is for you or not. I just want to put a disclaimer that it might not be what you think it's going to be. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. And yes, I'm wearing swans. I feel very European. Don't come at me about my swans, okay? I dressed up for you guys. The rest of them are not going to be like that. No makeup. Y'all know I don't brush my hair. And I put a bra on for y'all. You're welcome if you're watching this. So just a little bit about me. I just turned 30. Yeah, let's not talk about that. I grew up in a small town called Lucedale, Mississippi, George County. I was there literally my whole life. I had a great childhood, high school. If you knew me, I was rough and rowdy. I've definitely calmed down a lot and changed a lot, I think for the better. But if I had to go back, I wouldn't change it out. I don't know. It's all part of the growing experience. You know, I had to be that person and do those things to learn and grow. So I wouldn't change anything about how I was and the reputation I had in high school. Typical preacher's daughter, you know, rebelled. And then after high school, I committed to junior college, Jones County. I was in Ellisville, Mississippi for 2 years. And then after that, committed to William Carey University to play soccer for 2 more years in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And that is kind of where this all started. I committed there, and I was so confused. I had never been exposed to anything outside of Mississippi, especially America. So when I got there, my whole team were foreigners, and I was like, shit, I'm not gonna be playing because they're really good. And yeah, so I had to suck it up and work hard and sit the bench for a little bit, but ended up working my way to a starting position my senior year. It was awesome. Like when I was my first roommate, she was from Sweden, and everything was just a culture shock to me. You know, I've never met people from anywhere else in the world. And I just fell in love with everything about all of them. I mean, they're from England, from Sweden, Germany, France, New Zealand, just everywhere, and Spain. And I just loved hearing them talk, the accents, their slang, learning about what they eat, how they grew up, the music they listen to. And I just kind of became obsessed, and I was like, what the heck? There's this whole other world out there that I didn't even know about. So I graduated, and that next year I still stayed in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and I worked. But after I graduated, I was like, I have to plan a trip. This is my first trip to go and see these people's lives. I mean, my first ever trip, I was in junior college, and I went to Ireland. That was my first out of the country, my international trip. And I had to get a passport. I was 18 or 19, my first time getting a passport, first time on a plane. Ireland was amazing. I had so much fun with my team and getting to play over there. We also got to play Gaelic, which is their main sport over there. It was amazing. So I did get a little taste of it in junior college because both of my coaches were from Ireland, but none of my teammates were. That was before they could recruit international players. But yeah, and then Carrie, I really got it when I was playing with them and I was in Hattiesburg. If you know me, I'm a penny pincher. And when you're in college and you're playing a sport and you can't really have a full-time job, you are broke. So I just worked and saved as much as I could. And I planned a trip to London, then to Malmo, Sweden, and then to Santander, Spain. And don't come at me because y'all know I can't pronounce stuff good, but I try, okay? And if I'm saying something wrong, tell me because I want to learn and I want to do better. When I was in Malmo, we went to Copenhagen, Denmark for like one little day, half a day, because you can take a train from Malmo and go. So yeah, that was my first little taste of it. I had already graduated university, and that was my first time. A lot of my friends that I hang out with now, I mean, they've been traveling since they were in high school or since they were younger. So I definitely am a late bloomer, but it doesn't matter. There's no rules on when to start traveling and when to get exposed. And, you know, some people, they have no desire, and that's okay too. Like, don't shame people because they're content and happy where they are. Sometimes I'm jealous of those people because my personality now, I feel unsettled when I'm somewhere for so long, and I feel like I need to go, and I'm getting too comfortable. I need to go and make myself a little bit more uncomfortable. But yeah, then I lived in Orange Beach, Alabama for a couple months. I was getting, gosh, I got my life insurance license and was gonna go that route. Like twitching out just thinking about it. But then I moved to Pensacola, Florida, and I did that for a little bit. And then when I got there, I was meeting not as many international people, I would say, but I did have a friend from Canada, and I was hearing a lot about everyone traveling. And then people were talking about getting their work and holiday visas to go to Australia. I was like, whoa, like that sounds cool. Let's do that. Quit my life and health insurance job because I hated it, okay? And good money if you stick into it, but it wasn't for me fresh out of university, 22, 23 years old. I don't know. I couldn't do it. So then I was just serving, making good money, And then I was gonna do an adjuster job. So I tried to do that and I failed the test like 3 times. And my last time I failed it, I said, that's it, I'm out. And me and my friend from Canada, we were like, let's do it. Let's get our work and holiday visas. She also has dual citizenship. So we got everything figured out. We got our visas. And then that was my first time living out of America. I had traveled out of America, but I hadn't lived yet. So I went to Australia. We flew into Melbourne, and I was there for pretty much a year living in Oz. And being in Hawaii now compared to being in Australia, I feel so far away now. I felt like I was in another freaking universe in Australia because it is so far. You're literally, I think they're a day behind or a day ahead. I can't remember, y'all. That was like 5, 6 years ago. And because my birthday, I had like 2 birthdays. I had one there and then I had another one because everyone was texting me from home. But wow, it changed me in a lot of ways. It made me realize things that I didn't know. I learned a lot about myself. Travel is not for the faint of heart. It's not. It takes courage to go somewhere different, especially on your own. But I think it takes courage to stay too. When I was in Australia, I was in Melbourne like for almost 3 months, 2.5 months. And then my same friend that I went to visit in Malmo, Sweden, she was in Thailand. I was like, I need to get out of here. I was super sad. I was missing home. Christmas sucked. It was my first Christmas ever spending by myself. And I was supposed to hang out with people, but they kind of like blew me off. And yeah, it was not fun. So I was like, I just need to go do something different. I was in the city. The city, Melbourne, if you've been to Melbourne, it's super cool. Like, I was working at this place called a Holy Moly Golf Club. It was like an extreme putt-putt golf place. And I would like do events and show them where to go and sometimes do private events and get their pizzas and stuff. But then I got behind the bar, and then that was my first little piece of bartending. Y'all, I ain't never bartended in my life. I said, yeah, I've done it before. I got behind that bar, and if you know Aussies, they drank. They don't drink. They drank, boy. They drank. And I was like, oh God, I just winged it, made it work. Yeah, that was a cool little job to have there. But I was just ready for something different. It was so expensive. I couldn't believe I was going through as much money as I had. Took us we were staying in hostels, and it took us a really long time to find somewhere settled. And me and my friend that I went with, she ended up getting a house somewhere, and I ended up moving in with 2 Aussie boys. Whew, and the house was like a trap house. Let me tell you, I was always running away from this white mouse that was in there. But the guys were the best. They were super sweet, but it was time. I was like, this is not what I imagined it. I feel like before you go travel, you have all these expectations and you imagine that it's going to be this, this, and that. And then when you get there, if it ain't just like that, you get so disappointed. I think that's what happened to me. And it was because I was stressed. Like, I was so just stressed out. It's so hard starting over and starting somewhere new and meeting new friends. You don't know anyone. And then I went to Thailand. Flew in on my own, and I was in Bangkok when COVID was breaking out. And I just remember I was staying in hostels, y'all. Like, I'm not a travel agent. I can't tell you where it's nice to stay in a lot of these places because I was roughing it up. Like, I didn't have a lot of money. I was doing it the cheapest way. I was staying in hostels. I was staying in dorm rooms, sometimes of 14, 20 people mixed, boys and girls. Talk about stank. But some of them are awesome. Some hostels can be really cool. And the facilities can be really nice, but you just read the reviews. And this is just like a lesson to people if they're starting out when they're younger and younger girls and they don't have a lot of money. There are ways that you can do it to make it where you're still saving your money, but you're not doing the sketchiest way possible like I was doing. So I got to Thailand. I didn't have a SIM card. I didn't have service. I didn't have anything. Language barrier, hello. And I just show him like the address of, I had it screenshot, the address of the hostel I was staying at. He's like, has this van full of people. He's driving us around. Everyone's getting out. I'm the last one. I'm like, oh Lord, I hope this man's not kidnapping me. I'm trying to pay attention to where I am. I'm making sure, and me, you gotta be street smart too. If you're gonna travel on your own, you cannot be, like, have a buddy with you or be street smart. Like, I already was coming up with ideas in the car. Okay, what am I gonna do? I was making sure the door was still locked in case I needed to jump out or anything. This sounds horrible, but it's not always like that. I'm just trying to spread awareness so you don't make the mistakes that I made. And I wish I would have had someone to tell me these things, but people that I met, we all were kind of doing it this way because you're broke like 20-year-olds and you want to travel the world. So you do it the best way you can. So my suggestion, get a SIM card when you get there. Don't do this like, oh, I'm just going to use my phone when I get in the hostel on Wi-Fi, because that's what I was doing. It just makes life so much harder. Please don't do it. This first trip was like the first time that I had service. I finally have Verizon. I've had Cricket forever. Cricket Wireless. Hey, she works now. If y'all need to save some money, Cricket, I highly recommend. This is the first time I had Verizon, and when I got to Costa Rica, boom, it just immediately changed. I had to do nothing. It was part of my plan. When I got to Nicaragua, boom, sent me a text message saying that it was using their towers, part of the plan. So it was awesome. I'm like, oh my God, life is so much easier. But I have a little bit more money now, so makes those things easier. But if I have to say anything, if you're, like my friend calls it, she was a dirtbag when she used to travel, I was the same way, which you can still do dirtbag things to save some money, which is staying in crappy hostels. But the one advice I will give is please, lordy, get a SIM card. Get a SIM card. It'll make your life so much easier. But yeah, so I was in Bangkok and I just remember sitting in the top bunk of my hostel and I'm seeing all this stuff online going on. My mama's freaking out because it's COVID. We have no idea what's happening. I'm in Thailand. I was trying my best to get back to Australia, but I needed to land a job and I needed to get what's called like your 88 days or whatever for your work and holiday visa for your second year. I'll dive into that later because there's a lot of stuff that goes into that as well. So luckily, I landed a job in this little town called Karatha in Western Australia. And I booked my flight out of Thailand and got there right before the country shut down because Australia was really, really bad. I could not even go to the nearest territory until they opened it up and you had to have a big piece of paper and fill out a bunch of paperwork to be able to go through. Like they had their police like guarding the roads and stuff right on the lines of the territories. Australia is big. It's a bunch of territories. That's what they call them. And because I wanted to go to the West Territory to the Northern Territory, and I couldn't for a couple months. I landed this bar job, but we were having to like accommodate. It was a little small town, y'all. Like I'm from a small town. This is a small town. I was like, where? I just went from like Mississippi to this bogan redneck town in Karatha, Australia. And it was wild. It was a wild experience. But the people that I met were amazing. I met one of my best friends to this day there. And she's American. So we went through it together. We went through COVID together and we went through Karatha together. And our restaurant closed down for a little bit, and we both needed jobs. So then we got jobs at this mining camp. That town is a huge mining town. And we're working at this mining camp from like 3 a.m. to noon every day. And we were the baristas in the cafeteria. And man, it was wild. And then these people would come in to work and they would be stuck in their rooms because of COVID, and they would have to quarantine for so many days before they could come out. And I remember me and my friend were like pushing around these carts, bringing food to all of these men that cannot leave their rooms because they had to quarantine once they came in. The fucking Twilight Zone, y'all. That is crazy. When I think about it, crazy. Insane. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. When I first started traveling, I was embarrassed to say that I was from Mississippi. I didn't want to say I was from Mississippi because I knew the shit I was going to get. I knew I was going to get, you're uneducated, you're a racist hick, you're this, you're that. People think that I don't experience stuff like that. Y'all have no idea. Everywhere I go, as soon as I open my mouth, judgment, stereotype. Every single time. I see it all over their faces. But the Aussies, they love me. They were just, especially in Karratha, they were just as country as I was, and just in a different way. And so I would say, I will never forget this. I was behind the bar working with my manager, and he's from England. And he would hear people say, oh, where are you from? And I'd say, I'm from Mississippi, but I live in Florida. I would always have to add that, like, oh, I don't live there anymore. Like, don't judge me. And he pulled me to the side, and he said, you got to pick one or the other. He's like, I don't say, oh, I'm from England, but I live here and there and there. I was like, yeah, you got a point. So I think for a little bit I was saying I was from Florida. And then I think with time, and I think growing up, it's made me appreciate where I'm from even more. Space makes the heart grow fonder, or whatever the hell they say. But I think that's true for my little town. Being away from it has made me appreciate it even more and be grateful when I go home. It is changing a lot, but it's still a nice little small town with a really good community. There's crappy people everywhere, no matter where you go. But yeah, I think now with time, I really embrace that I'm from Mississippi. I think I got out of that. Maybe when I got back home, when I was in Oz for a year and I came back home for a little bit before I finally moved to Hawaii, I was like, wow, I'm happy to be home. My travels were fun, but it made me appreciate it more, made me appreciate my family more. In high school, I was always gone. You could not get me to be at the house. I was at everybody else's house. All my friends, always ripping and raring, doing something. And I think the older I'm getting, the more it just comes with age and getting older. You get tired and you want to be a little bit more settled. And yeah, so can proudly say I'm not ashamed to say that I'm from Lucedale, Mississippi anymore. I am proud of where I come from. My family is the best. So yeah, I think and people don't like to talk about that either. I have some people that I know, they travel and they don't say where they're actually from. They say like where they live now. They don't say where their roots are. But I'm glad that my perspective has changed, and I'm proud to be a little Mississippi girl. Don't change her ways just cause everybody knows her name. Now we are and there's going to be more episodes where I really dive deeper into a lot of stories, but this is just an intro. I just want to kind of lay it all out there. I don't even know if anyone's going to listen to this one, but if someone ever comes to the podcast and is like, I am so confused, then listen to this and get caught up, poo. Okay? And I got my notes here because I forget. COVID just, all my years and all my dates are messed up. Yeah, I got home from Australia and I was home for 4 months. And then my friend literally was like, hey, do you want to move to Maui? Let's move to Hawaii. And I said, sure, let's do it. She had never really lived anywhere else before than the South. So I think she just kind of needed a buddy to kind of get her started and go. And I had already lived abroad for a year, so I was like, yeah, let's do it. And so my poor mama, I was only home for 4 months. I was gone again. So I went to Maui. We flew into Oahu first. Y'all, we'll rewind, bring it back. So she picked me up at my house in Lucedale, Mississippi, and we drove to San Diego, California, because she was shipping her car to Maui so she could use her car. So we did that little road trip through Austin, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, got there, stayed there for a little bit, flew to Oahu, stayed there a bit. We had nowhere to live. We had no housing. And this is another example of what you see on social media ain't real. It is not real life. You have no idea what is actually happening. Like, I was posting all this stuff like, ooh, road trip, and I'm in San Diego, and I'm in Oahu. Girl, you homeless. You got nowhere to live. But that's just part of it. I was super stressed, had no money, because I was working, trying to get my money back after being in Australia, and Australia is expensive. And so she was helping me out. And we stayed at a hotel for a bit on Oahu, and then we went to Maui, stayed in a hotel again in Kahului until we finally found something, because we were advised from her friend to live in Lahaina. And that's where a lot of work is, and that's the best side of the island. And we finally found this apartment complex in Lahaina called Sunset Terrace. If you've ever lived on Maui, you know Sunset Terrace. Everyone makes their way through Sunset Terrace at some point, because it was like the cheapest place. And yeah, we shared a studio. It was $1,600 for us to share a studio, sharing a bed, doing everything. Took a while to get jobs. I was walking around Front Street, and Front Street's no longer there. I was walking around Front Street. If you know, it's just a strip. It was a strip full of bars and shops, and I was actually going to this one place called Spanky's. It's a dive bar. And then I kept walking up the steps, and then behind it I saw these like little shops, and I saw Betty's, and I went into Betty's and applied, and I got that job. And I had another job with Aqualani. It was part of the Marriott. It was like a concierge, and I was helping the surf school and stuff. So I had those two jobs for a little bit. I was bartending and serving at Betty's. That is where I met my chunk of community here, and I am still a part of their lives. I met the most amazing people there. I met my boo friend there, and yeah, I love that place, y'all. That was the only job I had. I quit Aqualani, and I was just strictly at Betty's. And if the fire wouldn't happen, and I used to talk so much shit about Betty's, we all did, because you just get exhausted serving and bartending. You just get mentally exhausted in the serving industry because people suck. They suck. I'm like, sir, you are cussing me out over y'all huevos rancheros. What did I do? I can't help it. I can't help your eggs are a little bit more runny than you think it's supposed to be for over medium. I'm gonna tell you right now, if y'all go to a breakfast place and your eggs ain't exactly how you want it, cook your damn eggs at the house. Breakfast is another level to work. Let me tell y'all, because people are so picky about their breakfast food. Now I'm going on a fucking rant. But yeah, landed the job at Betty's. She got a job. I had no car, no way of going. I didn't have a car the whole time I was in Australia either. But there, when I was in the city, I mean, they have trams and stuff. Their public transportation is awesome. And then when I was in Karratha, that little town, when we were working at a mining camp, they did get me like a big work van. And that was an adjustment as well. Oh my gosh, having to drive on the opposite side of the road and the opposite side of the car. Y'all know I was tearing up some curbs when I first started. Whew, that was scary. But yeah, that was the only time I had a car in Oz. The rest of the time I just, I rode with people. And when I was traveling around, we carpooled. Yeah, when I got to Maui, I had no car. We finally got a place to live, got a job. And I didn't have a car the whole first 6 months I was living on Maui. Did not have a car. You didn't really need one if you were living in Lahaina town, but I wasn't. I was more up north in Hanakauai. So she was letting me use her car and just really trying to help me out. And we were in a bind and just super stressed. And then I started meeting girls at Betty's, and then I ended up moving out of that apartment into their house. There was 2 girls in one room and 2 girls in another room. This was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house that 4 of us were splitting. And it was wild. My first 6 months here was wild. I wasn't doing the things that I thought I would do. I was like, God, this place is magical. It is literally paradise. And I wasn't able to really explore because I was broke. I was struggling so hard to make ends meet. I mean, our rent was cheap because we was 4 deep in a 2-bedroom house, so that made it better. But all I was doing was ripping and raring, partying, doing the same old crap that I've always been doing. And that was a huge turning point for me. My friend left, and then I was like, I gotta go. I was like, I'm mentally not doing good. I'm hanging out with all these stupid boys, and I'm partying. I'm just hanging out with people that I don't need to be hanging out with. I was like, I feel so unfulfilled right now. I feel so just crappy. I just felt so crappy. And yeah, I went home. It did like a little reset. And I was home for 6 months. And then all I could think about was Maui. Literally, I was dreaming about it every single night. All I could think, I had started surfing a little bit, just getting a piece of it. But I mean, I wasn't surfing. And I was like, I really loved it. Like, I think I could be good at it if I would have just stuck with it. There's so many things I didn't get to see. I didn't get to do this waterfall or that waterfall. And I was like, I got to get back. I was like, I have to do a redo. I had a friend. She actually passed away, but her name was Virginia. And we actually worked together at Aqualani at the Marriott. And she wanted to get out of her housing situation in Kihei. She wasn't in Lahaina. And I was in Mississippi. So I was like, hey, if you're able to find a spot, I'll move in with you. Because it's so hard to afford something out here, especially now. So hard to afford something out here with just a 1-bedroom or a studio. You like have to have someone to live with. And like that apartment that me and my friend lived in, that was a studio, $1,600. Now, I've been here for almost 4 years. It's $2,400. That's how much it's went up since I first moved to Maui. I can only imagine how, the locals and the Kanakas feel however long they've been here, like 40 or 50 years, and the pricing just keeps going up and up and up. That's why they literally call it, the locals are getting priced out of paradise. So yeah, she found a house in Wailuku, and I flew in and didn't have a car again. Ugh. And I wanted to go back to Betty's on the other side, and it's an hour away. And this ain't just like an hour on a highway. It's an hour, they call it, across the Pali, and it's literally on the mountainside. And you're going across the mountain, and you're going down into the west side. Like, people that live in Lahaina, they don't really leave Lahaina, and people that live on this side don't really go to Lahaina. I mean, some do, but a lot don't. Just because the drive is nuts. And there's one way in and one way out. So if there's traffic or a wreck or something, you sitting there, ain't nowhere to go. So I was taking the bus, and the public transportation here is shit. I was taking the bus at like 4:35 a.m. from Wailuku to Betty's, because I had to be there at like 7:30, because I usually would do breakfast shifts from like 2. Or I would go in for a night shift sometimes, and I would have to leave early. My manager would have to close down the bar for me. I have to leave early and run and catch the bus, because the last bus would go at like 8 o'clock. And I'd have to catch the bus in Lahaina town back to Wailuku. And I did that for a while, and then I finally found a car. Y'all, I got some freaking stories, okay? Y'all, I bought this car. I bought this Nissan Altima. It was cool. I got it. I found it on Facebook Marketplace. Virginia was driving me to their house to go look at it. I drove it around for a little bit from this little Filipino guy. And super sweet. And I was like, yeah, this is great. Let's do it. I think it was maybe $4,000. I can't remember what year it was. And I have this car literally for a couple days, and I'm driving across the Poly, and it's like, I mean, shaking. I'm freaking out. I'm calling my brother-in-law because he knows a little bit about cars. He's like, girl, them cars are squirrely. You better do something. And I just freaked out. I was like, I can't believe I bought this car and something's already happening to it. So I texted him. I said, you didn't tell me that all this was going on with this car. I didn't feel it when we were driving because I wasn't driving fast enough, because another freaking lesson learned. If you're buying a car off of Facebook Marketplace, take somebody with you that knows something about cars. But I just had to learn that the hard way. I texted him. I said, hey, I haven't put the title over or anything. I'm selling this car. I was like, you can either buy it back for me or I'm selling it. And he bought it back for me. My friend took me to his house, and they were really sweet, y'all. The night that I went over to buy the car, they told me to come inside, and I ate a bunch of Filipino food, some lumpias and all kind of stuff. That was so nice. It was so good. He bought that car back for me, gave me my cash, because I paid in cash, gave me all that cash back, and then I eventually ended up buying a different car. Peas. R.I.P. Lost her in the fire, but she was the best little car. She was like a little toy car, Hyundai. She was green like a pea. Peas and spam. But yeah, so I ended up getting a car, and then I just hated being in Wailuku, and the roommate situation turned bad. That's another thing. Roommates are so hard. So hard. Now that I've lived alone, ain't no going back. Ain't no going back. But I do miss, like, in university when all of us used to live together, all of my teammates, we'd have so much fun. I had such a bad roller coaster when I first moved out here. And if you ever go to Hawaii or know anyone that lives in Hawaii, they will tell you that Maui, they told me at the beginning, Maui tests you. He tests you to see if he wants you to stay on the island or not. And it's all about mana. They believe in mana, and Hawaii is very, very spiritual. And I realized that. I felt like I was not respecting the island like I should have been when I first moved here, my first 6 months. So things were going really shitty for me, like really bad. And you can call it bad luck or whatever you want, but I believe that, you know, I just wasn't on the right path. And then when I came back, everything was just falling into place. There was some hard moments, especially when the house in Wailuku wasn't working out. It was so bad. I moved out and didn't get my deposit back. But I was at a beach park hanging out with some of my girls that I worked with, and a friend of a friend, I was just sitting there talking, just chatting it up. And she looks at me and she's like, where are you from? I said, I'm from Mississippi. And she's like, oh my gosh, I love your accent. I don't know why people say that because I don't understand it. I think my voice is horrible. It's surprising that I'm doing a podcast, but my therapist said my voice was soothing. I don't know why, but let me know if y'all really disagree with that because I definitely do. And then Laura, my friend Sarah, that I worked with at Betty's, she's from the East Coast. I'll never forget my first day there. She's like staring at me, just like staring at me while I'm talking. I'm behind the bar. And I'm like, what? And she says, you just remind me of like my mama. Like your voice just like reminds me of my grandma. I'm like, thanks. I don't know whether to be insulted or take that as a compliment. But yeah, so the second time that I got here, I felt like Maui was blessing me. Like he was throwing me a bone. And I was sitting there, she asked me about my accent, and we just got to chatting. And this other girl was like, hey, like, if you're looking for a spot, because I was saying about how my spot in Wailuku wasn't working out, but I was still working in Lahaina. And she's like, hey, if you're looking for a spot, we have a room opening up. And I went and visited the house, and it was amazing. I was like, this is perfect. And yeah, so I ended up being in Apili in this new house. I was still working at Betty's. And things are just falling in place. And Maui became home away from home. And I miss my family a lot. But I do love it out here. It is absolutely paradise. And just meeting my boyfriend and falling in love with surf, it's been amazing, and the island has truly blessed me. I've met such incredible people out here, and yeah, my journey is definitely not like the typical 30-year-olds in my hometown. Also want to kind of tell girls like in my hometown, it's okay to do something different. When I was in high school, you know, I thought I was gonna marry my high school sweetheart or my college sweetheart and have babies and have a house, and by the time I was 30, and I don't have any of those things. You know, I don't have a house, I don't have a husband, I don't have babies. I'm shifting through a career change. Like, there's no rule book to this thing we call life. Like, it's all a part of the journey. There's no finish line. Like, I feel like that's the problem. Like, we're all trying to get to this finish line. We all have to check off these boxes, these off your to-do list, and then we'll finally be satisfied. Well, I've checked off a lot of things on my to-do list, and I'm still not satisfied. It's about enjoying the journey and getting there. And then when you've gotten there, then you just look for something even more. I just feel like that's just how we're built. So that's really something that I'm trying to learn, because I will find myself, sometimes I'm snorkeling up north and I'm snorkeling with turtles and it's beautiful. And then, but I'm like really sad. I'm kind of having a bad day. And then I feel guilty. I'm like, you can't be sad. You live in Hawaii. Like, what's wrong with you? But so that's another thing I've had to deal with being here. It's like, how can I be not happy 24/7? You live in one of the most beautiful places in the world. But it doesn't matter where you are, you're still with yourself everywhere you go. You can't, what I've learned is I'm a runner. I'm a track star. I be trying to run away from my problems, and my problems just follow me. So it's okay if you want to break through the norm and you want to see the world first before you do those things. And it's also okay if you marry your high school sweetheart and you have babies and you have a beautiful home and chickens and pigs and whatever you want to have. It's all okay. There's just no rule book. And every time I go home, you've got to stop asking women, when you gonna have a kid? When you gonna pop one out? What? I'm sorry, sir? Like, you're not just asking, like, oh, how have you been? Or what have you been up to? Have a good day. Why's it gotta be when you gonna pop one out? I just don't understand that mentality. I think that's such a Southern mentality, but there's nothing wrong with either side. But that is just kind of the rundown of how I got here. I'm super excited. Like I keep going back and forth where I'm like, oh, this is cringe. Oh, there's so many podcasts out there, so many people that do content creation and all this kind of stuff, but I just needed to do something for me and something that was fun. I think that's why everyone's wanting to start their own business, because we're so sick and tired of being a freaking just a workhorse for someone else and getting nothing in return. So all my jobs are absolutely soulless, so I needed something that brought a little bit of passion back into my life. And this has given me something to do and work towards, and yeah, I'm super excited about it, and I hope you guys are too. I want to say this podcast isn't always going to be completely tailored toward just traveling. I want to also incorporate kind of my lifestyle change and talk about that a little bit, and health and wellness, and just Hawaii and their culture. I can't wait to have my friend on here. She is Kanaka, and Kanaka is native Hawaiian. And I really want to spread awareness about the islands as well, because it's just freaking sad, y'all. Like, we are not taught anything about their culture, and they're supposed to be a part of America. I mean, a lot of them do not believe that. They still fly the Hawaiian flag. They want to be their own country, which I don't blame them. And there's just so much we need to learn. I want to take a class actually to learn more, but I'm excited to have her on here, and maybe have her on here a couple of times so we can share similarities and differences of our cultures. The Hawaiians are very, very like Southern people. They are country. They love their country music. They drive around in they jacked up Toyotas, and they love to eat. Okay? So very similar. So I'm excited about that. So yeah, it'll be Hawaii, health and fitness, travel stories, just about life, you know. But I did put my glasses on because I can't see. I did get a lot of Q&As on my post, and I'm not going to do all of them. I'm just going to do just three random ones. What is your most embarrassing travel moment? I have a lot of them. I think some people know this story, but some people don't. I was in Malaysia. When I went to Thailand, I also went over to Malaysia for a little bit during that span of being in Southeast Asia when I was living in Australia. So we're in Malaysia and we're at this beach. I cannot remember what the beach is called. It starts with an L. And we're just hanging out, chilling on the beach. And you know, Southeast Asia, they have monkeys everywhere. And some of them mind their business. Some of them, they do not. And we're sitting there, and they're in the shade, and I wanted to get some sun. So I'm laying over. And if you know me, my buns are out, okay? I'm only going to look like this once before I'm an old wrinkly lady. If I want to get my booty out and get some sun on the buns, it's going to be out. And if y'all got a problem with it, don't look. That's all I can tell you. So I'm laying out, getting the buns tan, and I'm just looking at this monkey, and he's just messing with everyone. He went and kind of they'll grab your bag and take shit out of it and eat it and do whatever. Little varmints. And and this one, he was like messing with this couple, and I think they were from Russia or something, but she grabbed her freaking handbag and she was whop, 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 beating the out of this monkey, y'all. I felt bad for him. I'm just sitting there like this. I'm sitting there like this watching. I'm like, God, dog. I'm like, she is beating him to death. Who else she's beat up with that bag? But, and then after she's done beating him, he like runs and kind of walks away. And the first person he sees is me. That mother locked eyes with me. So I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And he's just, with his long tail, he's coming over. He's still looking at me. He looks away a little bit. And then he looks back at me. And I'm like, if this mother trucker tries to bite me, and I'm by myself, like there's not, people are far away. My friends are under this tree. And this motherfucker jumps on my back. I jump up and I turn around and he's like attached to me. He's like, and then I turn around like this and his mouth is just open and all you see here is a freaking canine like this on my right ass cheek. Just mouth open, getting a chunk of it. And I just whap. I whacked him so hard and hit him in his face. And then I look and he runs away and I look at my butt and there's just like a little drop of blood just running down my ass cheek. And I look over and Josie and all of them have seen it. And that's my friend from Sweden. And she's looking at me and she comes over and I'm like, oh my God, dude. Because all they talk about is the monkeys biting you and you getting rabies or something. There's been so many cases of that. But usually they'll bite you on your wrist, bite you on your ankle, bite you on your leg, your arm, not on your butt. So I'm like, what do I do? Do you think I should go to the hospital? We're sitting there and we're talking. And she's like, you got to tell me what you want to do. And we're on a moped and there's only one hospital nearby. And I think it was like 40 minutes away or something. And we're walking out of the beach and the locals are right there and I'm trying to talk to them. And I'm like, the monkeys, do they have rabies? He's like, oh, those, I'm not sure. I don't think so. And he was like, where did the monkey bite you? And he's like looking at my wrists and stuff. And he's like, where did the monkey bite you? I'm like, and I point at pat my butt, and them men were cracking up. They were laughing so hard. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then I just decided, I was like, I'm scared. I don't want to wake up tomorrow and die. So we hopped on the moped. We're on the way to the hospital. We get there. I mean, it was rough. The hospital was in pretty bad shape. We're like sitting outside. And then they call me in, they do some blood work. I didn't have insurance, but I just like wrote down my information and showed him my passport, the nurse that was checking me in. And then I was waiting on the doctor and it's this woman and she has a couple of nurses and she literally walks in and she goes, the monkey liked you very much. I'm like, yeah, girl, I know that. Thanks, doc. And she like looks at it and she pretty much tells me, she's like, well, since the buttocks is very fatty, he would have had to bite really, really deep for it to be able to get into your bloodstream. So pretty much he just broke the skin. It didn't get into my bloodstream. She's like, but when's the last time you had a tetanus shot? And I was like, I don't know. So she gave me a tetanus shot just to be safe. And she gave me a tetanus shot. It cost like $20. Me and Josie get back on the moped and we're like heading to our hostel and we are dying laughing. I mean, people have been bitten by monkeys plenty of times. They got monkey stories, but getting bit by a monkey on the right butt cheek, that was crazy, okay? That's probably my most embarrassing, but I do have some more I can think of. And then I did have a question that said, do you ever run into people from Mississippi or people that you know? I never have. I've ran into people from the South, but never Mississippi. At the bar that I worked at, this local guy used to always come in. He'd call me Huckleberry Finn. And he'd be like, yeah, come on in here. All his friends would come for happy hour or something. He's like, this girl's from Mississippi. She's the only Mississippi girl on the island. And so yeah, I actually have not. I've ran into people that have been in Lucedale before, like from Texas, if they went down to Lucedale and worked or something, but that's the only time. When people ask where I'm from and I say, yeah, I'm from Mississippi, they're like, oh. They look at you like you're a strange alien just out in the world that they've never seen before. And they're like, what are you doing out here? You're so far away from home. Are you lost? That's how they look at me. Weirdos. Quit looking at Mississippi people like that, okay? We get out, some of us. We get around. Have you experienced a culture shock moment? Yeah, I think I've experienced a few. This past time, me and my boyfriend, we went to Nicaragua, and he's been there like 6 times. So I don't know how he hasn't seen this before. But we were driving, and we were behind someone, and they were on their moped, and they had a big old pig. I mean, a pig. His legs was wrapped up, and he was trying to get away, and they had a pig in between them, and they was driving to wherever to go cook them or something, I guess. And Joe was like, my God. He's like, they couldn't put him to sleep or something before they took him. I'm like, and this is someone that's on an animal-based diet. He eats a steak every day. But some of that stuff does bother him. That, and just, they don't really see dogs as pets. They're just strays everywhere. But I think there's more strays in Southeast Asia than there is in Nicaragua, to me. A lot of them had pets, and they looked super healthy. But yeah, the pig kind of being on the moped, taking them to wherever it's squirming around. That's kind of a culture shock. And then in Vietnam, we would drive around, and they would just have a whole pig's head on the table. Because you drive by, and they're selling stuff. They have like chicken and stuff like that, and they have like the little fans to keep all the flies away. But the one table just had a huge pig's head. And they would just come and give their money for the pig's head. They'd put it in a bag. They'd hop on their moped, put their helmet on, go to the house, go cook dinner. So I think those are some culture shock moments where you're like, oh, that's how they do things around here. Which, that's cool too. It's just, just different. You're not used to seeing stuff like that. I'm going to be doing some other solo episodes, just telling stories of different places that I've been. I just wanted to kind of give a rundown on a little bit of my life and how I'm still here in Maui, in Lahaina, after almost 4 years. I just want this podcast to be a space where I could be my true, authentic self. My friends can be their selves. We can have fun. We can laugh. And just bring a little bit of joy back into the world. And I think this is you can ask my sisters and my friends. Do not have a real big social presence on social media. But I think this is the best way for me to connect and kind of share my story without being a full content creator, because I cannot scroll. I cannot be engaged every day. I just can't. It's not good for my mental. I know what's good for me. I like to be outside, and I like to be in the moment. My phone is dead a lot. So I like to be disconnected, and I'm trying my hardest to just be as present as possible. I feel like a podcast is a good way. You can incorporate it more into your life instead of taken away from your life and having to scroll through something and be a content creator and have to be super engaged. Podcasts, you can listen to it while you're working out, while you're driving, while you're cleaning the house. It's more fitting into a lifestyle, I think, with other social media things. I want to incorporate this question. I'm going to answer this question as well. So my song is the first song, and then the rest, and I'll just keep adding on as I interview people. But since the whole time we're talking about wandering and traveling, I wanted to bring it kind of back and ask people what song reminds them of home. And home to me is like a comforting, warm, fuzzy feeling that just brings back nostalgia. And I say for all my guests, home can be a person, a place, a thing, a feeling, a different version of yourself. It doesn't necessarily have to be where you were born or where you grew up. So, because I love a playlist, y'all, I had to do something to incorporate music because music is a huge part of my life too. And my song is Black Water by the Doobie Brothers. That song, I mean, literally says Mississippi in it a bunch of times. Talking about Mississippi moon. Mississippi moon, won't you keep on shining on? When I hear that song, I think about my family, me and my sisters harmonizing. Just, we used to have these parties, like a 40th birthday party or anniversary or whatever. We'd have these parties at like the Catfish House in my hometown or out in the yard, and my dad and his friends are playing music and we're all dancing, all the kids are running around. And that song, when I hear that song, I think about home and I think about my community and my childhood, and it just puts a smile on my face. So that's my song, Black Water by the Doobie Brothers. Go check out my playlist, save it, because I'm going to keep adding songs. And yeah, thanks for listening. If you listened, thanks for watching. If you watched, this is my intro podcast, a little bit about me. And this is Wanderin, y'all. See you in the first episode.
That's the shit I'm talking about right here.